Hello, my name is Richard Anthony Marca,
And hello, my name is Victoria Leva.
and this is our CSC 322 mobile app development upgrade video for the second app, the quiz app. And this is a basic summary of all the upgrades we did on this assignment.
So for our first feature, we have our question timer. And it sets a timer for each question to keep users on pace. It auto skips to the next question if unanswered. And it promotes quick thinking and knowledge retention. And finally, it utilizes the circular countdown timer package from pub.development to implement the countdown functionality in the app.
The second upgrade on this application is a high score tracker, which tracks the highest score of the user, and it keeps the high score even after restarting the quiz. It uses the shared preferences import to store user specified configuration details and to keep the user logged into the app. It uses a future class and an async in the quiz file, which will eventually complete the result with asynchronous programming.
So for our third feature, we have the hint system. And it enables hint requests for questions to aid users' understanding. And it imposes a score deduction for each hint use, encouraging careful decision making to the user. And it implemented custom scoring logic to track penalties for hint uses. And finally, it used Flutter widgets such as elevated button to enable users to request hints and text for clear hint information display.
Lastly, we added a back button, which is another elevated button widget inside our program. And what it does is it's able to go back to the previous question. And when you go back to the previous question, you can use that to change your answer. It utilizes the on back class that is in question screen file and go back in the quiz file. And here's a demonstration of our app. If we start the quiz, there's the timer, there's the hint area. To press show hint. Flutter uses a specific term, so it's going to be widgets. Then next, if I go back, I could change it. And if I take too long, the timer runs out. We have it set to 30 seconds. Automatically goes to the next one and resets the show hints. Now I'm just going to click. And voila, our high score we've already done before and got 100. So if I went widgets, combining widgets and code, update UI's data changes, and let's just say I accidentally press state full and I realize, oh, I clicked the wrong one. I could press state list. The UI is not updated. Set state. It saves the last input when you go back, and now we have 100%.
First, we will be discussing the question screen.bat file. And so here we import the necessary packages, including circular countdown timer for the countdown timer and other essentials Flutter libraries. In the question screen state class, we added a new variable called countdown controller, which is to basically manage the timer. And moving on to the build method, we display a circular countdown timer that shows a 30-second countdown for answering each question. The timer is visually styled and triggers on time complete when finished. And the initial duration is set to 0. And basically, this sets the starting point of the timer to 0, indicating that the countdown will begin immediately. And the controller is basically managing the timer state. As reverse is set to true, which this indicates that the timer will count down instead of up. And on complete, this callback function is triggered when a timer reaches to 0. In summary, for this feature, we implemented a question timer managed through the question screen using the circular countdown timer package. And this feature helps keep users engaged by providing a limited time to answer each question, adding an element of urgency to the quiz.
For the high score tracker, the changes are mainly in the quiz file, quiz.dart, and we added the import shared preferences. If you come up down here, added 2 new integers to quiz state, which is high score and current score. For these future files, it's basically so that in the future, it will complete these functions. So one of them is reset high score, which is to reset the high score to 0 when you reset the app. So if we go to the is correct answer, if the correct answer is correct, then it keeps the current score. Otherwise, it reduces the high score down by a 6 because there's only 6 questions. If the high score is 100 or the current score is greater than the high score, then you update the high score to the current score, which brings us to this future file of update high score, which it updates the high score. That's the new score if the new score is higher than the original high score. And if we go to the results screen, final score can be current score, where it passes the current score to the as final score. If we go under the results screen, if we do manage to get a new high score, it brings us a prompt that says, congratulations, you have a new high score.
So next, we will be moving on to the hint system feature. And a few things that we added is the hint requested, which is in the question screen state class. And this is a boolean to track if a hint has been requested for the current question. And we added a hint penalty, which the score penalty for using a hint. And the next question functions updates the current question index. It resets the hint request state and restarts the timer when moving to the next question. If there are no more questions, it calls on selected answer with an empty string. So if we click on show hint, we can see that we lose 10 points. In the show hint function, this is responsible for showing the hint to the user. It sets hint requested to true and deducts points from the score when the hint is used. In the build method, we added the elevated button, which shows the hint is created as a button, and it is disabled if the hint has already been requested. Moving on to the quiz.dart file, the restart quiz function, we added the final score variable that is initialized to 100. This represents the maximum score a user can achieve in the quiz. This score can be adjusted based on the user's performance throughout the quiz, enabling the application to track the user's results effectively. Moving on to the questions.dart file, we can see that we added a hint category, which is crucial for both features since the hint is displayed during the quiz, which helps the user to answer challenging questions if they are struggling. And the quiz question file, this model basically is the properties of a quiz question, and it's including a method to shuffle answers for randomization. And the addition is the hint string that allows each question to have an associated hint, enhancing the user experience by providing helpful information when needed. And the results screen file, in the build method, we added the final integer final score, which this is the calculation that determines the user's score as a percentage, and it takes the number of correct questions divided by the total number of questions. It then multiplies the result by 100 and rounds it to the nearest whole number. And this gives a clear representation of how well the user performed to the quiz. So overall, this feature, in summary, allows users to request hints, which can affect their score. And this feature enhances the user experience by providing assistance when needed, making the quiz more accessible and enjoyable.
Lastly, we have the new feature that is the back button, which is able for us to go to previous answers. So if we go over to the questions screen, you can see we have new function on back, which is to go back to the previous question. If we scroll down all the way past the hint button, you'll see we added another button on back. And what it does is it goes backwards on the current question index, taking us back to the previous question. As you can see, it's not on the first screen because you can't really go backwards from the first screen. If I click that, underneath the hint is the back button, where I could go back and change it. Now, if we go under the quiz file, we can see the function go back, where if, as long as the current question index is above 0, we could remove the last selected answer and continue with the quiz. That's why if I click these questions correctly, ignore data 0 changing, stateless, UI is not updated, set state, see that's 100. Doing it normally, but if I do widgets, combine code, update data, and I notice that's wrong. It's actually supposed to be update UI, stateless, UI not updated, and then set state. We're still able to get a score of 100 because we basically went back and deletes the previous answer if you go back, so you can put down the correct answer if you made a mistake. Thank you for watching our presentation.
Thank you for watching.
And we will be doing this again.